count for something called genetic and phenotypic correlations. Because if you improve for this trait, for example, the other trait, for example, if it is negatively correlated with the first one, you will face reduction or negative impact of this, of the selection for the first, the second will be go down. Also for the mating strategies, we do need to breed the best to the best. But usually when you reach a certain point of improvement, this thing, you will lose the variation. What you will do? شو راح تعمل بعد ما تصل the plateau of the high productivity of the animal, genetically and phenotypically, and also for the other things. We have so many things. So, first of all, if you want to start the developing of breeding strategies, you need to start with those steps. Those steps, starting with what do you mean by, you need to define your breeding goal, breeding objective. I cannot go to any community or any species or any breed just only I want to randomly to improve it. We do need to look for something called the farmer's desires. Okay. Also also we do need to identify the researchers. Also the researcher opinion. This is how can we define what we call our breeding goal. Just only to go to meat productivity, to improve it, or to milk, or disease resistance, or other issues, or other traits. Then we do need to think about how can we collect the data for these traits. Is it measurable? Is it a quantitative trait or a qualitative trait? This is you need to understand and to go step by step for just only to reach what we call the breeding strategy you are aiming to develop. Thereafter, after collecting the data, you need to understand that we have some very sophisticated procedures that you are usually understand it in the college, okay? What we call the genetic evaluation. So the genetic evaluation gives us the opportunity to evaluate the animal phenotypically and genetically. يعني مظهريا ووراثيا we evaluate the animal, okay? And also, in this aspect, I do need to let you know that we have what we call population measures and also individual measures. The population measures in qualitative genetics, we call something, heritability, repeatability, genetic and phenotypic correlation, and finally, the breeding value. So, the heritability and repeatability estimates are genetic measures, okay? They are for the population measure. We call it population measures. But the breeding values that we are using it in the selection as selection criteria, it is the genetic part or proportion of the animal that is found in the animal that can be transmitted from the parent to the offspring. And at this point, we do need to understand we have so many procedures to evaluate the animal. One of them is the phenotypic evaluation. The second thing is the genetic evaluation that use what we call, if you are familiar with something called the Bayes linear unbiased prediction, which is a block, okay, which based on the pedigree information just only to select the animal. Also, we have what we call the genomic selection. In this process, the genomic selection, we merge the pedigree information, the performance record, okay, with the genomic information that based on what? On what we call the matrix of the SNPs. We hear about something called single nucleotide polymorphism. We can, for example, generate 55,000 mutation or SNP, okay, for a single individual animal. This huge data should be merged with the phenotypic data just only to produce one single value, okay, for the animal, just only to keep it or to select it or to cull it, okay? So selection can be based on the phenotypic, blood, and G blood, which is the genomic selection. So thereafter, we do need to identify the selection method and the mating strategies that we have. We need to do associative mating, for example. We do need to use what we call or targeting and breeding procedure or outbreeding procedure. This is very important, and also as I discussed previously, we have the tandem selection, selection index, and we have plantation selection and the other procedure in selection. So thereafter, when we reach a certain point of improvement in the flock, we do need to disseminate the genetic material. And this dissemination can be achieved by distributing rams or males in general, live males, such as rams, bulls, whatever, bucks, according to the species.